How brave Walter hunted wolves. A little back from the high road there stands a house which is called Heimgard. Perhaps you remember the two beautiful mountain ash trees and the reddish-brown palings, and the high gate, and the garden with the beautiful barberry bushes, which are always the first to become green in spring, and which in summer are weighed down with your beautiful berries. Behind the garden there's a hedge with tall aspens which rustle in the morning wind. Behind the hedge is a road. Behind the road is a wood. Behind the wood is the wide world. But on the other side of the garden there's a lake. Beyond the lake is a village, and all around stretch meadows and fields, now yellow, now green. In the pretty house, which was white window frames, a neat porch and clean steps, which are always strewn with the finely cut juniper leaves, Walter's parents live. His brother Frederick, his sister Lotta, old Lena Jonas, Carol and Bravo, and Putte and Murray, and Nucky. Carol lives in the doghouse, Bravo in the stable, Putte with the stableman, Hurry a little here, a little there, and Nucky lives in the henhouse. That is his kingdom. Walter is 6 years old, and he must soon begin to go to school. He cannot yet read, but he can do many other things. He can turn cartwheels, stand on his head, ride a seesaw, throw snowballs, play ball, crow like a cock, eat butter and bread, and drink sour milk, tear his trousers, wear holes in his elbows, break the crockery in pieces, throw balls through the window panes, draw old men on important papers, walk over to the flower beds, eat himself sick with gooseberries, and be well after whipping. For the rest, he has a good heart, but a bad memory, and forgets his father's and mother's admonitions, so often he gets into trouble and meets with adventures, as you shall hear. But first of all, I must tell you how brave he was, and how he hunted wolves. Once in the spring, a little before midsummer, Walter heard that there were a great many wolves in the wood, and that pleased him. He was wonderfully brave when he was in the midst of his companions, or at home with his brothers and sisters. Then he often used to say, "One wolf is nothing, there ought to be at least 4. When he wrestled with Klaas Baugenstrand of Finforth Waterfeld, he struck them in the back and would say, "That is what I should do to a wolf." And when he struck arrows at Jonas, and they rattled against his sheepskin coat, he would say, "That is how I'd shoot you, if you were a wolf." Indeed, some thought that the brave boy boasted a little, but one must indeed believe him, since he said so himself. So Jonas and Lena used to say to him, "Look, there goes Walter, he shoots the wolves." And other boys and girls would say, "Look, there goes brave Walter, who's brave enough to fight with 4. There was no one so fully convinced of this as Walter himself, and one day he prepared himself for a real wolf hunt. He took with him his drum, which had holes in one end, since the time he had climbed up so high to reach a cluster of rowan berries with his tin saber, which was a little broken because he had incredible courage and fought his way the whole unfriendly army of gooseberry bushes. Did he not forget to arm himself to the teeth with his pop gun, his bow, and his air pistol? He had a burnt cork in his pockets, and blackened his mustache, and a red cock's feather to put in his cap to make himself look fierce. He had besides in his trouser pocket a clasp knife with a bone handle, to cut off the ears of the wolves as soon as he had killed them, for he thought it would be cruel to do that while they were still living. It was a good thing that Jonas was going with corn to the mill, for Walter had got a seat on the load, while Carol ran barking beside them. As soon as they came to the wood, Walter looked cautiously around them to see if perhaps there was a wolf in the bushes, and he did not omit to ask Jonas if wolves were afraid of a drum. "Of course they are." "That is understood," said Jonas. Thereupon Walter began to beat his drum with all his might while they were going through the wood. and when they came to the mill, Walter immediately asked if there had been any wolves in the neighborhood lately. "Alas," said the miller, "last night the wolves have eaten our fattest ram there by the kiln not far from here." "Ah," said Walter, "do you think that there were many?" "We don't know," answered the miller. "Oh, it is all the same," said Walter. "I only asked so that I could know if I should take Jonas with me." "I would manage well alone with 3, but if there were more, I might not have the time to kill them all before they ran away." "In Walter's place I should go quite alone. It is more manly," said Jonas. "No, it is better for you to come too," said Walter. "Perhaps there are many." "No, I don't have time," said Jonas. "Besides, there are sure not more than 3. Walter can manage them very well alone." "Yes," said Walter, "certainly I could. But, you see, Jonas, it might happen that one of them might bite me in the back, and I should have more trouble killing them. If I only knew that there was not more than 2, I should not mind, for then I should take one in each hand and give them a good shaking, like Susanna shook me once." "Well, I certainly think there will be not more than 2, said Jonas. "There are never more than 2 when they slay children and rams. Walter can very well shake them without me." "But, you see, Jonas," said Walter, "if there are 2, it might still happen that one of them escapes and bites me in the leg, for you see I am not so strong in the left hand as I am the right. You can very well come with me, and take a good stick in case there really are 2. Look, if there's only one, I shall shake him with both my hands and throw him living on his back, and then he can kick as much as he likes. I shall hold him fast." "Now, when I really think things over," said Jonas, "I'm almost sure there would not be more than 1. What would 2 do with 1 ram? There will certainly not be more than 1. "But you should come with me all the same, Jonas," said Walter. "You see, I can manage very well 1, and I'm not quite accustomed to wolves yet, and they might tear holes in my new trousers." "Well, just listen," said Jonas. "I'm beginning to think that Walter is not so brave as people say. First of all, Walter would fight against 4, and then against 3, and then 2, and then 1. Now Walter wants my help with 1. Such a thing must never be. What would people say? Perhaps they would think that Walter is a coward." "That's a lie," said Walter. "I am not at all afraid, but it is more amusing when there are 2. I only want someone who will see how I strike the wolf and how the dust flies off of his skin." "Well then, Walter, you can take the miller's little Lisa with him. She can sit on a stone and look on," said Jonas. "No, she would certainly be frightened," said Walter. "And how would it do for a girl to go wolf hunting? Come with me, Jonas, and you shall have the skin, and I will be content with the ears and the tail." "No, thank you," said Jonas. "Walter can keep the skin for himself. Now I see quite well that he is frightened. Fie, shame on him!" This touched Walter's pride very near. "I shall show you that I'm not frightened," he said. And so he took his drum, his saber, his cock's feather, clasp knife, popgun, and air pistol, and went off quite alone to the wood to hunt wolves. It was a beautiful evening, and the birds were singing in all the branches. Walter went very slowly and cautiously. Every step he looked all around him to see if perchance there was anything lurking behind the stones. He quite thought something moved away in there in the ditch. Perhaps it was a wolf. "It is better for me to beat my drum a little before I go there," thought Walter. He began to beat his drum. Then something moved again. "Ah! Ah!" A crow flew up from the ditch. Walter immediately regained courage. "It was well I took my drum with me," he thought, and went straight on with courageous steps. Very soon he came quite close to the kiln, where the wolves had killed the ram. But the nearer he came, the more dreadful he thought the kiln looked. It was so gray and old. Who knew how many wolves might be hidden there? Perhaps the very ones which killed the ram were still sitting in there in a corner. Well, it was not at all safe here, and there were no other people to be seen in the neighborhood. It would be horrible to be eaten up here in the daylight, thought Walter to himself. And the more he thought about it, the uglier and grayer the old kiln looked, and the more horrible and dreadful it seemed to become the food of wolves. Shall I go back and say that I struck one wolf and it escaped? Thought Walter. Fie, said his conscience. Do you not remember that lie is one of the worst sins, both in the sight of God and man? If you tell a lie today and say you struck a wolf, tomorrow surely it will eat you up. No, I will go to the kiln, thought Walter, and so he went. But he did not go quite near. He only went so near as he could see the ram's blood, which colored the glass red, and some tufts of wool which the wolves had torn from the back of the poor animal. It looked so dreadful. I wonder what the ram thought when they ate him up, thought Walter to himself. Just then a cold shiver ran through him from his collar right down to his boots. It is better for me to beat the drum, he thought to himself, and so he began to beat it. It sounded horrid, and an echo came out of the kiln that almost seemed like the howl of a wolf. The drumsticks stiffened in Walter's hands, and he now thought they were coming. Yes, sure enough, just then a shaggy, reddish-brown wolf's head looked out from under the kiln. What did Walter do now? Yes, brave Walter, who alone could manage four, threw his drum as far away and took to his heels and ran as fast as he could back to the mill. But alas, the wolf ran after him. Walter looked back. The wolf was quicker than he, and only a few steps behind him. Then Walter ran faster, but fear got the better of him, and he neither heard nor saw anything more. He ran over sticks, stones, and ditches. He lost drumsticks, saber, bow, and air pistol, and in his hurry he tripped over a tuft of grass. And there he lay, and the wolf jumped on him. It was a gruesome tale. Now you may well believe that it was all over for Walter and all his adventures. That would have been a pity, but do not be surprised if it was not quite so bad as that, for the wolf was quite a friendly one. He certainly jumped on Walter, but he only shook his coat and rubbed his nose against his face, and Walter shrieked. Yes, he shrieked terribly. Happily, Jonas heard this cry of distress, for Walter was quite near the mill now, and he ran and helped him up. What happened? He asked. Did Walter scream so terribly? A wolf! A wolf! Cried Walter, and that was all he could say. Where's the wolf? Said Jonas. I don't see any wolf. Take care! He's here! He has bit me to death! Groaned Walter. Then Jonas began to laugh. Yes, he laughed so that he nearly burst his skin belt. Well, well, what was the wolf? Was that the wolf which Walter had to take by the neck and shake and throw down on its back, no matter how much it struggled? Just look a little closer at him. He's your old friend. You know, old Caro. I quite expect he found a leg of the ram in the kiln. When Walter beat his drum, Caro crept out, and when Walter ran away, Caro ran after him, and he did so often when Walter wants to romp and play. Down, Caro, you ought not to be rather ashamed to have put such a fright in our hero. Walter got up feeling very foolish. Down, Caro, I said, both relieved and annoyed. It was only a dog, and if I had been a wolf I certainly would have killed him. If Walter would listen to my advice and boast a little less and do a little more, said Jonas consolingly. Walter is not a coward, is he? You shall see, Jonas, when we next meet a bear. You see so much better I like to fight with bears. Indeed, thought Jonas. Are you at it again? Dear Walter, remember, it is only cowards who boast. A really brave man never talks about his bravery.